Hello everyone and welcome to Suburban Stone Age. Today's video is about how to grow your own food by using IBC totes as a wicking bed. As an introduction, IBC totes are also known as intermediate bulk containers, and they are a standardized shipping container for liquids for international shipping. What we're going to do today is upcycle one into a wicking bed so that we can use it for our garden. IBC totes can be found on Craigslist for relatively inexpensive. Just make sure that if you source one, you get one that's food grade. And even better, if you can find out what was in it before you use it, you'll have an idea of what its history was. The first step is to clean your IBC tote, and I'll leave a link to the video that shows you how to do that in the description below. The second step is to get yourself a Sharpie, and while the cage is still on the IBC tote, pick the level that you're going to want to trim the tote to. I picked about somewhere in the middle, and with your Sharpie, draw a line to mark the cutting line. The next step is to get some bolt cutters and cut the cage. Once you've cut through the cage, then you'll need to undo the two top bar supports that hold the tote inside. This is a view of the particular type of fitting that this one used to screw the bars down to the cage. Once the bars are unscrewed, you'll also need to trim the little ears that hold the tote onto the bars. I used bolt cutters because the plastic was pretty tough. Once you've cut through the cage, then you'll need to undo the two top bar supports that hold the tote inside and lift the cage off. And once you slide the IBC tote out of the cage, you should have an empty IBC tote and two halves of the cage, one connected to the pallet and one that's part of the top. The next step is to get a jigsaw and cut the tote along the line that you drew. It's helpful to drill a little pilot hole so that you can insert the saw blade, but from there the cuts go pretty fast. That leaves you with two halves of the IBC tote, the bottom with the drain valve and then the top with the big lid that opens up. For this project, we'll be using the bottom half for the wicking beds. In my case, the bottom half was still filled with sunflower oil, and that's a big mess, so I took some extra time to scrape that goo off and get the tote nice and clean. From there, it was time to move the bottom cage to the plot that I had prepared in the garden, and then insert the bottom half of the IBC tote into the cage. Also, now is a good time to insert a standpipe for the drain. This allows you to manipulate the water level in the wicking bed so that you can keep it higher or lower depending on what you want to do. These are the pieces of 2-inch piping that you'll need, and this is how you put it onto the IBC tote. It fits nicely right into the drain fitting. The next step is to add a layer of gravel. I chose to add about 6 sacks of just road grade gravel, gave them a good rinsing, and that put about 4 to 6 inches of a gravel bed underneath the bottom layer of the tote so that it would allow for good drainage when I wanted, or if I wanted to fill the tote from below, that's where the water would reside, is in that gravel layer. The next step is to insert the fill pipe. Do this before you complete the gravel layer. For that I used scrap 2-inch pipe and I cut slits into the bottom and inserted it into the bottom of the tote. After that I added a layer of well-rotted straw. That is to keep the soil from getting down into the gravel layer and clogging it up while still letting moisture come up through the straw. After that, it's time to add the soil. I chose to take my time here and I used a mix of sifted homemade compost along with worm castings from our worm bin. I put in some perlite to add to the airiness of the soil and also for some moisture retention. I mixed it all together in the wheelbarrow in several batches and then put it in on top of the straw layer. One tip, when you're mixing your soil, it's a good idea to pre-moisten it. I've noticed in past projects that pre-moistened soil just helps everything get off to a good start. And once the tote was also completely full, I gave it a good watering on the top layer as well, and then I layered on some more straw just to keep the moisture in until I was ready to plant seeds. It's been about 10 days since we've planted seeds in our wicking bed, and we've also had some rain, but I've been very happy with how it's performed so far. The seeds are sprouting and seem to like it. I'll keep you posted on the progress. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to learn more about how to grow your own food with IBC Tote Wicking beds, hit the subscribe button. We'll be posting updates. Also, give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and please feel free to ask any questions you may have in the comments. We're delighted to have a discussion on the totes and share new ideas. Thanks everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye-bye.